everybody. I'm just going to get all my resources ready. So, that's amazing that so many of you are already involved in TLG. And I just felt at the moment, I thought, do you know what? I don't need to speak. They'd be amazing. I thought, everything they've said is almost what I'm going to say. No, not quite, actually. But definitely there's a thread there. It's amazing. So thank you for those who've already spoken this morning about TLG. So yes, as part of TLG's national speaking team, I want to thank you again, for inviting me here. I'm so delighted to come this morning. I'm here to share the heart and vision that God has brought to us as we partner with local churches like you to see transformation in the lives and the families and the children who we come across through our work at the TLG. I want to thank Kinga already. Thank you very much for all your wonderful organisation, preparing me to come here this morning. For Dan as well, for having this opportunity to do this Mission Sunday. And as I've seen, you've got connections already with TLG, which is amazing. It's brilliant just to come to Hayward's Heath this morning and to see what you're doing and to find out a little bit more later maybe about how you're interested in TLG. I thought I'd start just telling you a little bit about myself and how I got to the journey through TLG. I've lived in East Sussex in a place called Battle. You may know it. It's 1066 and all that. But yes, I'm actually in a church. My husband and I are in a church in Bexhill, although we are living in Battle at the moment. We're at King's Church there. And we've lived in East Sussex now for over 40 years. Not just in Battle, but in Hastings generally. Started in Hastings and then moved along. I came to Hastings for my job as a teacher, secondary school teacher, and we've lived there for a long time. But you might recognise, I don't know if you do, but I actually, if I really try, I'll put my accent back on for you. And Debbie, I met Debbie already this morning. We're from Wales originally. So just please don't put that against me, living in Wales. But actually, I feel more like I'm a Sussex person now than a Welsh person. So occasionally, you might hear a little lilt fall in there with my Welsh accent. So I was born in Cardiff, in South Wales, and came to Sussex to teach. So when I decided to retire, and yes, I am supposed to be. My husband will look at me now and think, no, she's not retired. There's no way she's retired as a teacher. I really prayed to say to God, look, I've done 40 years of teaching. Where do you want me to go? I'm not finished yet, but I just don't want to teach full-time anymore. But I don't want to go back into schools. That's what I said. I don't want to go back into school. However, he had a different plan for me, as God always does, nothing that I want to do. But some doors opened at first that led me that journey to TLG. I spent some time volunteering at the King's Church in the local food bank, so it's great to see that some people here this morning are doing that. I got a part-time job as well, working at the church as a PA for one of our church members who coordinated all the social action projects. She's now a CEO for Jubilee Plus. You may not or may not have heard of Jubilee Plus. And that is where I met Kate, the TLG coordinator. And she heard about my previous teaching experience, and she said, Helen, you'd be amazing, absolutely amazing, being a coach for TLG. And she talked to me a little bit about it and told me what I did. And I said, but it's going back into school and not so sure. And I'd really enjoy doing what I'm doing at the moment. And she just walked away and she said, don't worry, I'll pray for you, see where God leads you. Yeah, well, there we are. God led me towards TLG. I left doing PA. PA wasn't really my bag at all. And then God put a real heart message on my heart and said, Helen, you know why you became a teacher. You know why you stayed as a teacher. Because you saw children struggling in schools for a variety of reasons. And you've got some skills that I've given you that you can use back in the schools here, in the local schools. So then I knew that God was prompting me to go into TLG. I knew that I could support the children in my area. And TLG did give me the opportunities to come alongside children who wanted to listen, as Pip has really said brilliantly this morning, to give them some time, 1 hour a week, to support them through their challenges. I don't ever regret taking that step. I've been coaching now for 2 years. I enjoy my children that I meet. I'm just taking on a new child at the moment. And when I go in every week, as Pippa has said, when you see that smiling face, then they see you and they see the smiling face, you think, oh yeah, I must be doing something right. I must be doing something right. I must be making them feel a little bit better about themselves and about school and about their home situation. So this morning, here we go. We got the nice up there. So, be the light. We've already mentioned about bringing light into the darkness, and that's going to be my message this morning. We're going to look at some of the challenges being faced by children and their parents in our communities. We're going to discover what God's heart is for those who are walking in darkness. And finally, we will look at how we as Christians are called to respond to the need, and how you personally can join in with a movement of thousands of others who believe that every child deserves hope and a future. So I'm going to start with looking at Bible reading, and it's from Genesis chapter 1. And we read about the creation story. The very first thing that God does is to speak light into the darkness. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness was over the surface of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the waters. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. God saw that the light was good, and he separated the light from the darkness. So God created the light before he created the sun, the moon, and the stars. Perhaps the intention here is that we recognize that light in this context is God himself, the source of all illumination, wisdom, knowledge, and truth. So let's take a minute to think what it must be like to live without knowing God's illuminating light. So if you want to, you can close your eyes, or you can leave them open, it's fine, it's up to you. But maybe as I talk to you about this, maybe you can just consider what it's like to live without the illuminating light of God. We all know what it's like to be physically in darkness. Imagine that moment when we all have experienced that moment when the fuse box, for example, trips your house, or you unexpectedly plunge into darkness. After the frustration subsides, we start to consider how to get to safety. We suddenly become aware of the potential hazards that we can't locate. Maybe there are cables on the floor, or pieces of furniture in the way, sharp corners that might hurt us. And after those initial thoughts, the fear often increases, and we worry that we can't see anything, and nothing feels familiar anymore, and we don't know where everything is that we need. Often we feel trapped. In these moments, we desire to know a secure presence, and we call out for someone, and we long for the light. And we all know that if we have darkness in our lives, one of the things that we do is we call out to God. Unfortunately, for many people in our nation, they are experiencing this fear and darkness, usually on a daily basis and in very tangible ways, and they don't know that illuminating light of God and how they can turn to someone. So let's look at some statistics. They're quite damning, actually, some of these statistics. So 4.3 million children are living in poverty. That's the equivalent of 9 children out of a classroom of 30. So just say that again, 9 children out of a classroom of 30 are living in poverty. That's quite a thoughtful statistic, really, to think about that. So the next one, 48% of parents have said they have skipped a meal to ensure that their children are fed. 1 in 5 children and young people were identified as having a probable mental health problem. And that's not just, that's COVID as well. You think, we think we've gone through that, but there are many, many children who still are struggling after the aftermath of COVID. In over a third of children, the onset of mental health disorders take place before the age of 14. Yes, so I'm sure you'll agree with me that these statistics are heartbreaking and not okay. So how does God call us to respond to the suffering? In Matthew chapter 5, verses 14 to 16, Jesus is talking to the disciples. He says, and this comes to what Pippa and I think Kinga said earlier, is you are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. Here, Jesus is the light of the world. He's calling us the light of the world. He's calling us the light of the world. Can you believe that? It's incredible honour that we can be the light of the world. But why would he call us that? The answer is in verse 16. Let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. The light of the world is in us right now, so that we will shine before others. So the way we steward the story of hope is to shine the love of Christ brightly against the darkness of this world, so that by God's grace they may see and treasure Jesus. So that's a great, great message to all of us, that we can just be that light of the world and work through God. God works through us throughout that whole time that we're working. Whatever charity that you may have been, and there are lots of people here working in charitable good causes, it's amazing that we know that God is working through us in these situations. Let me tell you a little bit about a girl I coached. She was just 9 when her family were living next door to an empty house. She felt nervous and unsettled about many, many things in her life. And this anxiety caused her not to go to sleep at night. This is just one of the anxiety issues that she had. This had an impact, as you can imagine, on school. Not sleeping at night. She'd come to school, she'd fall asleep at the desk. The child would find going to bed at night difficult. So her mother, and this is one of the things that we do at TLG, we don't just work with the child, we also work with the family as well. And mums talked to me about this as well, very concerned. And we had a little meeting with the child, and we talked about maybe we could agree to put a night light in her room. The light only had a small flicker, yet it still brought great hope and warmth. During this time of coaching, we chatted about other types of light, and I talked about my light that I can turn to, my Jesus, who is my light of the world. And this was an opportunity to do that. But we also talked about other lights that she could see from her bedroom window. I asked her, what other lights can you see? And she said, I can see my neighbour's light across the road. I can see the street lights. I can sometimes see the stars. I can sometimes see the moon. And we talked about all these different lights that we could see around her home. What the family then realised was that they found that somebody was moving into the house next door. This house had been empty for quite a while, so the child had a vivid imagination. She used to think she could hear things going on next door, and it was dark and it was empty, and she was a bit worried that something might be in next door, and she was worried for her safety, really. And then when Mum told her that somebody had moved in, the anxiety didn't go away, because she suddenly thought, who is this person that's living next door to me now? I don't know them. So again, we had this conversation, and we talked about how she could find out with her mum and dad, maybe go and take a present round and knock on the door and welcome this new neighbour. And so she did. We made a present. One of the things we do at TLG is we find out what they like doing. We play games, but also we do craft as well when we're talking and chatting about things. And she was really, really keen to make something for her neighbour. And this action really helped her. And from that time onwards, after she'd been to visit the mum, it was really great because she could then, with her mum, go and see the neighbour, give her the gift, and the lady next door was really lovely, and she felt so much better about that. So as she went up to her bedroom, the lights in all her neighbours' homes came on, and that of her new neighbour, and she would finally feel that she could breathe deeply again. At the very heart of TLG is the desire to see every church and volunteer enabled to bring the light they carry into the darkness, so that we currently do that through a number of trauma-informed programs that enable children and families who would never usually have the opportunity to hear about Jesus, to connect with a local church. So let's hear about one of those now. We're going to watch a video, and hopefully from this girl who had the candle in her light, we're now going to see how we put light into other people's darkness. I'm hoping it's going to start. Is it going to start? Is it going to start?
When we go shopping, we stuff that we want, so makes my mum and dad, I'd feel very anxious.
I worried about how much, especially in the holidays, food costs. It's quite scary. I hope things are going to change. I don't think they can carry on going up like they are. It makes me feel really nervous, especially with the gas and electric going up again.
The gas prices are going higher and higher because nobody has it. Nobody has much gas anymore. So it's really hard to do stuff and get to places.
I think the children have massively struggled with the cost of living going up. And they obviously overhear conversations. As much as you try not to let them, they do know what's happening.
It makes me worried. You'd see mum and dad worried.
TLG Make Lunch seemed the best way to help in the community in a time that is really difficult for lots of people.
I feel very excited about coming to Make Lunch. I meet new families and have a nice lunch and dessert.
Make Lunch is lifting a massive burden, like we'll get little bits of food when we come each week. I love that there's a community here in a church that just give to people. They don't necessarily want a single thing back, apart from you to smile. It's absolutely amazing.
Having the food here makes me feel less worried.
Coming to Make Lunch helps to show them more food as well, and different people cooking it differently, and to mum and dad cook. So that's broadened him trying new foods, which is good for him.
Normally we have like sausages and mash or like pasta or mac and cheese.
Learning the recipes they do here, it gives you ideas for food. Maybe we were talking as well about showing how to cook, doing more cooking with the children to show them stuff like that as families.
My favourite thing is coming to see the volunteers. Some of them like playing football and stuff, so I play football with them. Or we can just run about playing with balloons. And they're really nice people.
We see loads of volunteers in the community while we're walking, and they're like, oh, look, there's so-and-so, and they can't wait to go up to them and give them a hug and chat to them, and it's just lovely to see. And my youngest was born in COVID, so he's really struggled with meeting new people, so it really helps him to get to know people, and he's starting to come out of his shell now.
I feel happier now that I come to Make Lunch. My mum and dad don't have to worry about looking after us, what we're going to do. They don't need to run after us. They do feel less worried now.
They make you feel better in the person, really. I feel happier when I've been on a Tuesday, and I do think that it helps the stress in the world having a place like this to come to.
It's just a joyful experience, really. Thank you, TLG Make Lunch.
So that family is consumed by worry and how to make lunch together. And the light was brought to their lives in the form of the community. Everything TLG does is to equip local church to bring light as I said, to the lives of struggling children. And in our TLG Make Lunch Clubs, churches create safe and welcoming spaces during the school holidays, and they offer nutritious lunches, meals, fun activities, and opportunities for children and families to build friendships. Each of these lunch clubs provides a unique environment for families to overcome loneliness, isolation, and obviously poverty. They foster a community, belonging, and meals that matter. TLG also partners with over 130 churches to provide early intervention coaching, just like you do. You bring light to children whose darkness feels completely overwhelming. We train hundreds of volunteers who give 1 hour a week, every week for a year, to children who are struggling, be that anxiety, bereavement, or isolation. These children are having the goodness of God reflected into their lives and are being shown the unconditional love of God by their coaches on a weekly basis. We're going to watch another video now, and this is the story of a wonderful young lady named Caris, who is supported by TLG's Early Intervention Coaching Programme. I know you're already working in this area, but I think you'll be inspired, for those of you who don't know, how the difference is made to this child's journey when God placed a TLG coach in her life. So we'll look at that now.
At school, I just felt alone and I had no friends. Before TLG, I tried different ways to make friends. For example, if somebody told me to do the wrong thing, I did it because I thought if I did it, they would like me. I was vulnerable at that time. I felt like I was in darkness.
Caris is a whirlwind of fun. We would always say about Caris that she had leadership qualities beyond her years, but she would find it very difficult to regulate her emotions, and she found friendships quite difficult to navigate.
I was sent to the head teacher's office multiple times, and I wasn't really proud of that.
When I met Caris, she was quite sad and lonely because she didn't have many friends. When the other children had their birthday parties and things, she wasn't invited.
When I started coaching with Faye, I got overwhelmed with joy. And I told her everything that happened, and she used to give me words of advice that would help me. Faye was there for me. Talking to her made me reflect on my character. It taught me how to regulate myself around people. Because of that, I learned how to make friends and how to keep them and how to make sure our friendship is secure. I started getting invited to parties, and it really made me happy because now I knew that our friendship was strong. Every session I did with Faye, it had a meaning to me. I felt like so, and I was pinching every negative emotion down. And for cooking, I felt like I was just spreading my joy.
Do you remember when we were making the cookies? We were so busy talking, so we had to roll all the pastry up together. Do you remember?
Yeah.
And I sprinkled sugar all over the pastry and we re-rolled it again. But it tasted all right.
It was delicious.
After a year of coaching, life for Caris in school, from my point of view, looks far calmer. She's really grown as a child, and those leadership potential characteristics we've seen in her for years and years and years seem to have really come to fruition in a lot of ways.
Miss Darren was getting tired of seeing me. Now that I know how to say no, I told her I'm not going to come to your office anymore, and she said we'll see about that. And then months after, she said you really kept your promise, didn't you? She was so proud of me.
The funding for something like TLG Early Intervention is not something that we could afford. The money that's given to allow that to happen is having a huge impact on the children. They're happier, they feel seen and heard. TLG Early Intervention is having a huge impact not only on schools but therefore on the local community.
Now I feel positive about my future. TLG coaches has taught me that I can do anything in life if I put my mind to it. It changed my life.
I've loved working with you, know that. And I'm looking forward to hearing how the future goes.
Thank Thank you, TLG.
I want to invite you now to respond to any prompting from the Lord, how he may be wanting you to participate. I mentioned at the start that I'd give you the opportunity to join with thousands of others who believe that every single child deserves hope and a future. So on your chair this morning, you will see a leaflet and a pen. On there, it will share 3 different ways you can get involved. The first is to fill out the contact information. And what that does is to give TLG permission to keep you up to date on what the Lord is doing through TLG. I'm sure you already know what your group of volunteers are already doing TLG, but it'd be nice to know what nationally is happening. It also lets us know that you'll be joining with us in prayer, because we know that everything we do must stem from prayer. So it will be incredibly meaningful to know others are praying alongside us. And in return, I'd like to give you, yes, you can get a freebie, a book. So if you do fill out one of those leaflets today, and you give it to me at the end of the meeting, I'll be out in the corridor out there next to the banner, TLG banner, and you bring your leaflet to me completed, I can give you a book. This is from, it's called Out of the Ordinary, and it's written by a founder and CEO, Tim Morfin. And it's an incredible testimony of what God has done. So please feel free to bring a form to me, as I said at the end, and I'm sure you'll get a book. So this leaflet, as I've said, should be on your chair. If you haven't got one, then you can come and get one from me at the end as well. The second way to get involved is by becoming a hope giver for those of you who want to support financially. Hope givers are those who give faithfully each month. There is a box on the form that you can tick saying that you're interested in becoming a hope giver. If you have your bank details today, if you do, there is a space to fill that out. But if you don't, then you can still tick the box, and we can make sure a member of the TLG team will connect with you for that information. Some exciting news is that every hope giver joining today will be match funded for 1 year by some incredibly generous supporters of ours. So please be encouraged that your generosity is going even further. The third way is to get involved, is to register your interest as a volunteer. There again, there's a box that you can check there as well, and we will make sure you get connected to the right people. Obviously, Pippa will be told if there's anyone else that would like to get involved, because our coordinating team nationally will speak to Pippa about that. Also, there is, just to let you know, there's also now a new monthly giving initiative for businesses with a great tax benefit for anything that they give. It's TLG's Corporate Future Builder Scheme. I don't know if I've got a slide there. No, I haven't got a slide there. But if you know someone who has a business or work for a company that may be interested in hearing more, again, just take one of these leaflets. There's contact details on there, and you can contact them about that. So there, it's been a real pleasure this morning to talk to everybody here at Haywards Heath. So I want to just say on behalf of TLG and all the children, the families that we connect, the people that work for TLG, we just want to say a thank you, a huge thank you, actually, for your generosity, for your volunteering, those who volunteered, for making time this morning to hear more about what God is doing. And as I said, I will be, after the service, over there in the corridor with my TLG banner to talk to you. If you've got any other questions, I'm sure I can try and answer them. So yeah, please don't forget, pass me your form, come and get a book from me, and I'd love to chat to you later. Thank you very much.
Thank you.